All right, everybody. Hey, welcome to another episode of Eggs. Today's guest is Amani Roberts, a California based DJ, music producer, entrepreneur, and thought leader based out of LA. He graduated from the internationally renowned Scratch Academy, which is a year long DJ college founded by Jam Master Jay and from Rum DMC. So that's pretty high street cred. Also, we have word on the street that you may actually know someone we know, which is kind of an interesting thing. So I thought
Oh,
it might be kind of fun to bring that up and see if, in fact, you do.
cool.
So yeah, without any further ado, meet our guest, Amani Roberts.
Hello. Thank you very much for having me. Excited to talk with you all.
Yeah, thank you again for making the time. We really appreciate it. Um, you're based out of LA. You went to the Scratch Academy, which is pretty prestigious. Can you let's start off by talking about that. You actually went twice. You went once as a DJ, and you went another time as a producer for the production class. Um, I've heard good things about them. I've never done it. I'm actually you probably don't know my history, but I've been a DJ for 20 years as well. And I'm self taught. I'm wondering what going through something like Scratch Academy, what that offers to someone who's up and coming and what they're going to learn and what they're going to take away from that.
Definitely. When I went to Scratch, I was also self taught as well. And so when I went there, I just found out I was doing some basics wrong, but it also opened up my mind to everything that I wasn't aware of. So really I had to kind of tear down my fundamentals and start over again, learn about the basics of really beat matching, specifically on like vinyl, starting with vinyl and doing that, mapping out songs, which I had no idea about, which is crucial even now. So it just kind of taught me a lot of the fundamentals, and really the most valuable course within the curriculum was the troubleshooting one. And I see so many
Right.
DJs who are even more experienced and famous DJs that can't troubleshoot, follow the sound.
Yeah.
And that
Signal
that
path is everything.
I know that specific course has been so valuable. So I just think it really helped build me a much stronger foundation going through the program. It kind of humbled me as well because I definitely wasn't as good as I thought I was, and it just really kind of set my career and my business, the trajectory, off on a much higher plane, so to speak.
Nice. And you went through that in 2013
Yes.
for the first time. How long had you been DJing before that?
I had started DJing in 2008. So I had been DJing about 4 years already, kind of out and about doing some events. I had my own controller, and I thought I had a clue what I was doing, but I realized that I had a lot to work on, which was a great experience. It really helped me out. So yeah.
Yeah, I wish they had kind of something like that back when I started in '96 doing weddings, and I went to this website. It was called DJ University. I don't even know if it's still around, but I would just read forums trying to figure out how to talk on the mic, trying to figure out how to just do an event and run it right. And had something like Scratch Academy been available, or had I known about it, I would have loved to gone through something like that.
Yeah, like you started way back in the day, when now, I mean, now you might get a few things from it, but you're so experienced and you have so much just wisdom and experience. You're kind of already past the stage where most of the graduates are, but we can always learn new things.
Oh yeah, I learn new stuff all the time. I went
Yeah.
down to Phoenix the other day and worked with a guy named Jeff Jones, and his mic skills are insane. Just the ability to be a good MC and host an event and get the energy going with just a mic instead of I rely on DJing more than mic skills. I'll announce the garter toss and the bouquet toss and all the stuff that goes on at a wedding, and I think I've got a pretty decent routine going, but he blew me away. Uh,
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, definitely. Like mic skills, that's something I can definitely work on. So I'm always watching, if I'm attending an event, what is like the MC doing that I can kind of borrow or steal from. And so, yeah, mic skills. I mean, they teach you everything, but then you have to kind of go out and get experience. And so I'm still trying to acquire more experience as well. So, I'm right there with you.
yeah.
Yeah. So Amani, I wanted to ask you. So the reason the show is called Eggs is basically we use the metaphor of an egg to talk about a person's process and sort of moving from coop to table, so to speak. So not just in the DJ career, but can we go even further back and just sort of talk about your history a little bit, where you came from and what sort of took you down the path you are walking today?
Grew up in the Washington, D.C. area, and I grew up in hotels. So I started working in hotels, the hotel industry, when I was maybe 17 or 18 years old. Started as a bellman, then went to a front desk clerk, front desk supervisor. And this was all while I was going to college, went to Howard University. Then when I graduated from school, I started moving around, moved to Atlanta, Chicago, Dallas, Miami, back to DC, then out here to LA. And I did a variety of jobs in the hotel industry from, sales manager, director of sales, general manager, director of marketing, regional director of sales and marketing. So I really grew up in sales. That's where I got all my business training from, my sales training, customer service training. And then eventually I moved out to California, and something about living out here, just the entrepreneurial spirit kind of got me. And I decided to start my DJ business on the side while I was working for Marriott. And I did that for about 4 or 5 years and then decided to kind of go full time. And so that kind of leads us up to today. I've been full time DJing now for about 6.5 years. And so I do that. I'm also an adjunct professor at Cal State Fullerton. So I have a lot of different things that I do, but it all comes back to DJing as a core now. But I wouldn't be where I am now if it not for the experience I had with Marriott, as well as the training and experience and just lessons I learned while I was there.
That's neat. We was it Almighty Red that also worked in the hotel? We
Yeah, as
interviewed
a music producer, hip hop guy called Almighty Red, and that was sort of his trajectory too. Came up through there.
Yeah.
So cool. Well, and then so from there, this experience in the hotel business, did you decide that you needed to transition from employee to entertainer?
Was it an overnight kind of transition, or did it just kind of happen? For me, I got fired from a day job, and then I had to go over. So yeah, some people have a hard time actually making the change and quitting the day job and doing something
Right.
like full time.
Yeah, for me, it was gradual. I kind of started in 2008. I was still working for Marriott, so I would be doing both at the same time, really DJing part-time and just kind of networking and learning and playing out different gigs. And then it got to a point where I probably wasn't the happiest with where my career was going with Marriott. It went from a more family-oriented companies to we were really focused on like meetings and spreadsheets. And so it got to a point when I was like, okay, now seems like the time. You combine that with like life issues when you lose family members, or you just get consistent reminders of, tomorrow's not promised. So if you have an idea or a goal and it's realistic for you to go after it and you have the necessary kind of financial system set up, then it's okay to try to go for it. So I kind of hit that bridge and I decided to go for it and retire, quasi retire from Marriott, and then just went full time. And I would do like freelance writing to kind of help supplement as I grew my business and just kind of grow it to where it is today.
Yeah, I'm really impressed with your website. I love it, by the way. It looks like you have a couple of other guys that work under the umbrella of the Amani experience. It Do you do mainly weddings and corporate events, or is it club gigs? Tell us about your business.
Exactly. Yeah. Thanks for the compliment too, by the way. So we do a variety of things. We do a lot of like corporate events. We'll have corporate events. We'll do social events like you when we do like weddings, birthday parties. I also teach people how to DJ. So I'll teach people on an individual basis as well as group classes. And then we have this newer kind of activity we do where it's team building based around a DJ lesson. So compared
Interesting to kind of put that together. How were the first couple times of doing that?
the team building activity.
I could see that being like a fun thing to do, but weird to like put the format of how to actually do it together.
Yeah, yeah. So it took a little bit of trial and error. And to be honest, where I came up with the idea is that I'm a part of LA's Best Friends. So it's a nonprofit based in LA for elementary school kids ages kindergarten to fifth grade. And we would go to the kids in like Watts or Compton and we'd do like a DJ lesson for the kids. And to see their reaction from it, I was like, if the kids are liking it, I'm pretty sure adults would like it as well too. So we tested it out and tried it on some adults and it had great response. I mean, people love to kind of do what we do. Like they would love to get behind, kind of peek behind the kimono and see what DJs do. And so I kind of came up with the idea. We tested it out on some people. They loved it. And then I keep adding little things here and there to give it even more depth. One of the funniest things people love to do is we start off with having people create their DJ name. And so we kind of tell them to go back to kind of their past and say, well, what do you want your DJ name to be? And then we get them on the turntables. I really use turntables so they can feel records and scratch and kind of get over that fear. And then we let them pick their debut song and get on the microphone. And that really kind of helps people kind of let their barriers down and really kind of let loose. And it also lets colleagues who have worked together for 10, 12 years learn something new about their peers that they might not have known. And so between that activity and then we have this game that's kind of like where were you when? So we could go back to like 1996 and play like Return on the Mac, and they'll sort of,
Yeah.
oh, I remember when I heard that song and this is what, and so that's really fun. And so we just kind of keep adding things and trial and error. I've done it at a few conventions, a few conferences. We've done private events in terms of at people's offices, even for like adults' birthday parties, kids' birthday parties. So we just kind of opening it up to see who likes it and just continue to make tweaks. But I love it. And it's a lot of fun as well, too.
Yeah, I can imagine. It would be fun to work with people one on one and kind of just teach lessons. I love that you guys on your site as well. You have a giving back page, and that means a lot to me. I notice you work with Camp Spinoff. How did you get in touch with them and Tina T?
Yeah, so Tina T, I met Tina T through another DJ colleague of mine, DJ Dazzler. And so I kind of met her and I was like, no, I see you do the camp. I'd love to be involved in some way, maybe come and be a counselor, let me know what you think. I'd love to talk to you more. And so we kind of conversed back and forth. And then I think it was 4 years ago, I went out and did the camp for the first time, and it was amazing. Just like kids traveling imagine if when we were younger, we had an opportunity to go to camp and
Yeah,
learn
I was
DJ.
telling Ryan about that. I was like, "It's so cool," 'cause I did the scout program, and I actually reached out at one point to Tina and was like, "Hey, I would love to help out." And, it's just she never got back to me. I think she thought I was trying to flirt with her more than actually wanting to be part of the camp.
Right.
Uh, I love what it is. I love that the kids are involved and they can come and learn music production, everything about DJing and kinda just work with people in the industry. I just think it's the coolest thing.
It's awesome. Now that we know each other, I'll definitely kind of remind Tina T to get back to you as well, because we're coming up on the 10-year anniversary. So it's
Yeah,
been around for 10 years.
I don't even I mean, I think she was in the first year when I reached out. It was just the coolest thing. I was like, "This is rad. I wanna be a part."
Yeah, yeah. Well, we will get you involved. I mean, do we have like guest speakers come? We have like Z Trip has been in the last 2 years. We had Little John show up one time.
Mike was there at one point.
Yes, yes. Arabian Prince from NWA, all these different DJs, these producers, they come, they visit, the kids are there. And some of these kids, let me tell you, some of these kids are so talented. Like, I wouldn't be intimidated, but they could definitely hold their own on like scratching or turntablism and then music production too, which the past 2 or 3 years has gotten to be even more popular with the kids. There was one kid, I forget his name. He came with some of these beats that he made for the original track. Because what we do is each cabin has to make an original track for their project, one of their projects for the week. And this track that they made, this one guy who kind of was the leader of their cabin, it could be played on the radio today and be like a top 5 hit. It was
That's so
awesome.
cool.
So yeah.
Do they mainly teach with Ableton there, or do they go into other, DAWs?
Yeah, the Ableton's the main DAW we use there. But if kids come there and they're familiar with like FL Studios, then you can definitely use that. You can use what you want, just create the track. So we really base our instruction on Ableton. And then the team from Scratch Academy is there to do the DJ side. And we have like a cabin challenge. This year we had a cabin challenge, but the counselors of the cabin had to kind of scratch and perform duties in front of the kids, which was kind of cool and challenging. So that was fun. And then like one thing we've implemented the last 2 years is a lot of the kids want to do some other things besides DJing in the off hours. So we started giving them salsa lessons. So I lead them with the salsa lessons
That's
and the
cool.
kids love it. They love it and they dance. So I take them through like a pretty intense routine. It's like a 2-minute routine and we teach them salsa and they perform it and they love it too. So then they implement salsa music into their sets and everything. So it's a win-win. It's awesome though. We love it. And it's 6 days, 5 nights up in like the Santa Barbara area, Ventura County. So we have to stay in cabins with the kids, which is interesting in itself. But I mean, it's probably one of my favorite weeks of the year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, that is awesome. I wanted to ask you, so one of the things that is sort of become apparent and just in our short conversation so far is just how you are so, I guess, in tune with using creativity in business and developing a business. And it's funny. So this show, my background is in advertising. I own an ad agency marketing company, and Mike is a club DJ and entertainer himself. And so the two of us kind of came together. We've been friends a long time, and we had this idea for doing a podcast. The whole idea was just to generate some content and, sort of get established as experts in fields and stuff. And but the initial thought for the show was, hey, this is going to be a creative venture. And in my mind, my little narrow focus was creative means like design and advertising and marketing and promotion and things like that. And as we got talking, and I mean, Mike and I have known each other for 100 years, and it didn't come clear until we started doing this podcast that the muscle I flex for creativity that manifests itself as an ad or a billboard or whatever is the same muscle that Mike flexes when he's DJing, when he's putting together this DJ set or whatever. And so our show immediately sort of evolved into something with this underlying creativity, but it wasn't immediately obvious that creativity could mean all things. And since then, we've had touring musicians and
we've
CEOs.
Had CEOs, and the CEOs have similar stories.
Yeah, everybody's got kind of the similar story, and we're all flexing our own creativity in our own way. And so it was really, for me, I feel kind of stupid because my view was so narrow before, and it's kind of, it was a big aha for me. But it seems like to have come at least somewhat natural to you as kind of a creative person, even as an employee in the hotel business and then moving into entertainment. Like, how did you know, or when did you discover that using creativity as part of building businesses and part of sort of crafting young people's lives and things like that was such an effective tool?
I think I first, kind of got in tune with my creative muscles when I was a kid. I used to want to kind of write, and then I used to want to be a chef. And so that's all creative in its own right as well. And then as I got older, I played in a jazz band. So that's definitely musically
Saxophone, right?
based. Yeah, saxophone. Yeah, definitely alto, tenor saxophone. And so then going to school, if I'm honest, like I thought when I was younger, back in like 95, 96, that we had to go and work a traditional corporate job. So it was my own fault that I kind of tried to push my creativity down. But once I started working in the hotel industry and with other people, I realized that there was a space and an opportunity for creativity everywhere. For example, if we're working in the hotel and we want to do something different in terms of maybe a reception for the guests or checking in instead of like, doing the traditional check-in, maybe walk out and greet the guests, small things like that really helped me realize how important creativity is. Then as I continued to just kind of progress through my career and just experiment and experience different cities. Like a lot of times, one of the things that when I really kind of hit home was in Miami, we had to fight and claw for any business to come to Miami. It seems kind of funny now because Miami is so popular, but back then it had just gone through a lot of issues with tourists being killed when they were renting cars. So we had to fight and be creative to get guests to come to our city. So say, for example, they're coming to visit our hotel. We were on the water. So what we would do is we bring them in, they take a tour of our hotel. Then we take them out on a boat, take them around like Star Island, all the famous islands, go through downtown. But every time we had someone there, we had to be creative in terms of knowing what they were looking for, showing them parts of the city, and just making it very memorable. And that transfers exactly over to kind of now in terms of growing your business, being creative, trying to be different each time and creating experiences and being memorable. So I think that kind of shows you where I started from. And then when it really kind of took off was when I was in Miami and we had to fight and claw for all the types of business that we wanted to kind of get.
Yeah. So were you in Miami when you kind of got started DJing, or was it?
I got started DJing when I moved here to LA. So like almost 10 years ago. So I moved here to LA because something about being out in California, there's the entrepreneurial bug. It's really encouraged compared to where I grew up, which is more kind of what's the proper word? Just it's more conservative. But being in LA, like people are here to pursue your dreams. Of course, you have to be realistic, make sure you have your bills paid. But just being out here is when I got started. And I just started kind of doing a podcast back in the day and also DJing at local bars and clubs as well. So yeah, that's how I got my start.
Well, let's talk a little bit about that then. Let's talk about sort of overcoming challenge to pursue dream careers. So in your case, you made a transition to entertainment. You found sort of the entrepreneurial bug, and you're using DJing and that style of entertainment as a way to build bonds and craft different things like that. But beyond that, I mean, you're a business owner. So can we talk a little bit about your business and, sort of what it took to, I mean, being surrounded, of course, by other entrepreneurial minds and things like that is really, really key. And actually, I don't know, maybe that's a good segue to bring up maybe somebody you went to school with. So we were here at the office the other day, and we've got a guy, his name's Joseph Spence. I don't know if you know that.
Yes, I do know Joseph.
Joseph was standing in our office the other day, and he saw your name on our little board here, where we always where we queue up all the coming guests and everything. He's like, Amani Roberts, Amani Roberts. Why do I know that name? And he asked where you're from and stuff like that. And we pulled up your webpage and we had your little one sheet and stuff. And he's like, oh my God, I went to school with that guy.
Small
Anyway,
world.
kind of a small world thing. Because, yeah, Joseph is actually one of the partners in the facility we podcast out of. We've partnered with his company to have this studio here. And so he's one of the partners here, or one of the owners. And so anyway, kind of an interesting thing, but super small world, because we actually got connected to you through an agent and some other people like that, like completely different worlds, but they've still come together. So it's kind of a fun.
Yeah, that's great. Tell Joseph I said what's up. Definitely went to high school together. So yeah, I remember him clearly. So definitely.
That's awesome. So
It
cool.
is.
So anyway, so sort of back to the question, let's talk a little bit about the challenges you had to overcome in moving into this entrepreneurial journey. I don't know, were you always kind of entrepreneurial and moving to California gave you the nudge you needed? Or was it a totally foreign experience and you fell into it?
I believe I was always entrepreneurial. I had like a lawn mowing company when I was young, maybe 12 or 13, and had that through high school. And so that was kind of the bug I had. And then I went to school, so kind of it died down a little bit. But I was always looking for different opportunities to, earn revenue. And then being out in California is kind of when it took off. In terms of challenges, I think the biggest challenge that I continue to work through now is just being able to recognize what my self-worth is in terms of pricing and just sticking to your prices and rates like that. That's a big challenge to work through.
I
And then,
actually, while you're on that topic, on your website, I love how you've done it, how you've got your starting price and nothing lower than that. I think a lot of people who don't post something like that on there open themselves up to low balls. And hey, can you do this for $300? And you don't even want to deal with the email back and forth.
yeah, definitely.
Props
That
on that's a good technique. I'm
Yeah.
actually going to steal that. So
Thank you. And if I'm being honest, I didn't get that process down until maybe a year and a half ago when I worked with a business coach. And I just, because when you're working on your own, you get scared. Like fear and self-worth are two of the biggest issues that I probably work with. And it's not really a fear of like you're scared of something. It's the fear of not getting enough business to sustain yourself. Or just how you say you're coming and you quote a rate of like $2,000 for a gig, and someone's like, oh, well, I can only pay 1,000. And that you really should be charging 3,000.
yeah,
But your rate is 2,000, but you're scared that, say if the gig is January 21st, well, what if I don't get a gig on January 21st that replaces that? So I ended up losing $1,000. And so you can't think like that. And for me, one of the biggest kind of areas of opportunity is just working on that mindset, so that you have to let that pass so that something bigger will come to you in the future. It might not be the exact same time or the same day, but just as if you took a gig and you have already quoted yourself so low, you're not going to want to do the gig. You're going to be
well,
kind
and
of be
then you get
resentful.
another opportunity for your actual price and your $1,000 gig.
Yes, exactly. So I think that's like huge lessons learned. And then another lesson that I learned recently is just like you don't need to do it all alone. Like for the longest time, I thought that, sure, I have people working for me underneath me, but for the most part, like I kind of handle everything myself. But I went to what is that? I went to the ASCAP convention back in May this year. That was for all like the composers and record producers and songwriters, and I was amazed at how many people collaborate together when they're writing songs and doing music and producing. And it just kind of opened my eyes up. It clicked. That was a light bulb moment, because it was like, you don't have to do this alone. You can partner with people, and you'll end up getting further. And that kind of re-emphasize one of my favorite quotes I share, which is, if you want to go fast, go alone, but if you want to go far, go together.
I love
And
that.
so
Yeah.
that's one of my favorite quotes, and it's so true. So for me, a lot of the areas of opportunity in terms of growth and challenges were like mindset, getting over fear, sticking to your self-worth, and realizing that it's okay to collaborate with people, and you'll end up getting further along than if you just kind of go your own route, so to speak.
Now have you done some of official remixes with the artists? I think I read that somewhere. I don't know if it's on
Yes.
your website or on your bio.
Yes.
How is that process working with the artist? And then actually, because I've never actually done it legit. I've done my own kind of quote unquote remixes. but I haven't like submitted them for. I see some DJs that actually get a plaque for their, and like Q's gotten a few and a few other guys. And how is it to actually work with the actual artist? Like I think you did Camilo Cabello, Little Big Town, a few.
Right. So I do it actually all three ways. So we do some kind of how you describe, where it's not really bootleg, but we just kind of take their track and remix it. So I've done a bunch like that. That was actually the ones I did for like Little Big Town, Kehlani, and Camila Cabello. Then there's some other artists like Mako, Hood Boy, the Funk Hunters that we
Love the
actually.
Funk Hunters. They're one of my favorite artists. I like
Oh, nice, nice.
them and
So
Sticky Buds. Whoop.
I'm trying to think of the song. I'll look up the song. They had a remix contest out there. So what you do is they'll submit their songs to be remixed through a contest. And then you get all the stems and you can do that. So we did a remix for them, NOTD as well. And so that's the second way, where they send the stems out, you do the remix, you enter the contest, but you get the official remix that you can use, and like they don't make you take it down. And that's the second way. And then the third way is that we've actually been hired by a few artists to do remixes for them. They'll send us the track, we work it, we kind of go back and forth with feedback. And those are three ways to do it. I love doing remixes. I think it's just fun. It's very creative. It
Well, and
allows.
also being able to edit a track and make it how you would want it when you're playing or you're DJing. Just being able to go like I'll find an acapella, I'll do an acapella in, or I'll do like a transition down to what I want to do, and then it just kind of it lets you be a little bit more creative without having to. I'm not a trick DJ. Like I'm a clean DJ. I can put it out and it's clean, but you don't see me up there beat juggling. I scratch a little, but I'm kind of I want it to be clean and I want it to sound good. And so I don't try and get all crazy and do that. But I'll do a lot of production stuff. I'll go and I'll make the edits to how I want them to be.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm very similar to you as well, and that's one of the main things that was the biggest benefit going back to scratch the second time, is that they taught you about doing edits, doing mashups, just making things so you can take down a song if it's too long, lengthen the chorus or the bridge if you need to do that. So I use definitely those techniques to make the sets unique, and then the remixes just continue to differentiate yourself when you're playing the music, and you just have to keep producing content. The way we were able to get a couple of the artists to find us and to want to have us do remixes is we had that catalog that we did for like Camila Cabello, Nia, we did the Kehlani one, a bunch of them. And so because we had that catalog that we created, that gave us an entry way to get artists to hire us as well. So it's beneficial all the way around.
Yeah, we actually have, in my opinion, one of the good mashup artists out there, Victor Menego, coming on in a few weeks.
Nice.
He's the Bar Bangers guy, but
Yeah.
he, you got the Victor Menegos, you got the Z Trips, you got the DJ AMs that can just do all these crazy live mashups, and it's an art. I mean, like not even just the fact that okay, this might go good together, but then you got to check and figure out, oh, are they in key? Are they clashing? Or
Yes.
there's a lot to it that you don't even think about.
Yes.
And,
Yes. You're speaking my language. You're speaking my
know,
language. I love it. Like it's so fired up here talking about it. It's like talking to one of my homeboys. So I appreciate it.
Well, cool. Did playing the saxophone help out with that? I mean, because did you get music theory kind of ingrained at an early age, so you just kind of took to it naturally?
Playing the saxophone helped me get an introduction to music theory, but it had been so long since I had played that I actually every week I take music theory class. So I'll go to my instructor and I had to learn from scratch how to play the piano. It's been about 40 years now. And so I had to start from the very basics in terms of learning middle C, learning, the C scale up and down. And now we've got to a point where I'm working on like my 3-octave triplet scales, all the majors, all the minors, arpeggios, cadences. So, so all that.
I'm a classical pianist. I started when I was super young, but I never learned theory. I just learned how to read notes. And so I had to go back. I went to college for audio engineering and production kind of stuff. And when I went through the program, I'm sitting here playing like, Mozart and Chopin and stuff like that. And the teacher's like, hey, now play me a B flat minor scale. And I'm like, I can't do it.
Yeah.
You could have been like me with the saxophone. I just took, sixth grade band, but the only song I could ever play was the intro to Rump Shaker.
Oh, that's a good.
That was the only thing I got. It was pretty solid, in sixth,
Yeah.
seventh grade for me. That was a good jam to have it,
Yeah.
locked down. But that
Yeah.
was about all I could pull off with the sax.
That's good to have in your toolbox. I'm impressed. Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's funny. You kind of have to go back and stay on top of theory, because if you don't use it, you lose it.
You do, exactly. Like even this morning, I had to practice, for 35 minutes, just the scales. Now I'm working on finishing out like I think we're in month 11 now. So we go around the circle of fifths. And so there's 12 pretty much notes. And so now I think I'm working on like F minor scale, and then working on another like the C, or I think it's like E flat major scale, and doing all the arpeggios and stuff. And it's hard. And
Yeah, it is.
It's hard. So, and it's doing 3 octaves and
To know, though,
arpeggios.
especially if you're doing like production work,
Yes.
knowing how to, okay, I need something in a similar key. Let's go up a fifth. You know,
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, fifth, a fourth, you have to sing the notes, figure out where they're going. And most music, when you hear the chords, they generally stay around the 1, the 4, the 5. They might sneak in a 6 or a 3 there, but to be able to hear it, that's the goal.
Yeah.
My goal is to be able to hear a song and be like, sing it. Okay, that song is in C sharp major, or okay, that song is in A minor, and then that'll help you with the remixes, and then that's when it really takes off. So that's the goal.
So yeah, I'm gonna tell this story, and I should. In college, I came across the acapella for Ice Ice Baby by Vanilla Ice, and I went and had a few drinks, came home, and had Pro Tools set up, and I was like, what am I going to do with this? Let's find something in the same key. So I go into Serato and I start looking for the key signature that's the same tempo, so you don't have to warp it too far. And there was this polka track, the Beer Barrel Polka, that was in the same key and the same tempo. I'm like, let's just throw this on here to figure it out, kind of thing. And it turned into this whole production. Like, I wrote a bass line for it, and I just got all crazy. And I don't know how it got out, but I gave it to a friend, and it like blew up in the Seattle community scene. Like, what is up with this? Right.
All right.
I only know of one person to date that's used it in an actual event, but it works. I'm gonna send it to you just because I talked to.
Yes, please send it. I'll use it whenever I see fit. I'll use it. I have an event today.
Never play it out, but I just want to hear it because it works good.
For sure. I respect the hustle though. So that's good work. Good work.
Like, I had the acapella, and it's like, well, it's the same tempo, it's the same key. Let's just try it. Yeah. And then it got to be like, this is a challenge. I'm going to make this work.
Because when you have the acapella, sometimes it's so hard to warp it properly and line it up that if you get that done, you're like, look, I did all this work. I'm going to have to figure out a way to use this because I did not do all this work for nothing.
Right.
So cool. So can we talk a little bit about just, I guess, some thoughts, and we've circled around some of that stuff, but maybe I'll ask it a little more focused. How can people be more creative in their daily and professional lives? So, how can people, I guess, find the creative in their day? I mean, people like you and me and Mike here, like, we all sort of work in the creative trades. And, so for us, maybe it becomes a little bit second fiddle to be creative or to see something and be able to run with an idea. Do you have any tools or tricks or things that you teach to your young students or to anybody in coaching and training that might help them find the creative, sort of just out of day-to-day experience or anywhere else?
Definitely. One thing that I really encourage people to do is just the active journaling in the morning. So when you wake up, your mind is at such a high frequency that if you journal, that'll help get down any ideas you might have had when you're sleeping. So that's the first step, is do that. And then if you have like a traditional job, I always encourage my students or my people to look within that job to figure out where are the creative opportunities. Whether or not you work in a bank, can you be creative with some of the proposals that you send out to your clients? Can you be creative in terms of how you maybe talk to people, how you organize your events? So I always encourage people to look within their daily. If you're a teacher, how can you be creative when you're teaching subjects to students? Maybe use techniques or applications that aren't mainstream. So between journaling, looking for opportunities to be creative when you are doing your regular duties, and then there's a book that I actually just read that I have added to my most recommended list, The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. That book, if you do the 12-week exercise for that book will help you, help you unlock your creativity, because it works on kind of going back to your past, unlocking what you used to love to do as a child, and using that for your daily like your daily duties. What do you do? And that book was amazing. So between those three things, those are three tips I give kind of away right away, and then just kind of building from there. I think the journaling helps to unlock a lot of things when you do that activity with the Julia Cameron book, The Artist's Way. That helps. And then just looking around, maybe it's in your house. How can you be creative in terms of redecorating your house or designing a room that you want to work in to kind of help out with your creativity, and just trying different things in your daily duties, which will then spill over to your personal and your professional life as well.
Well, so do you think that part of maybe the success, creative people have, and in something you're trying to teach people, is just like kind of the power of observation? We talked about this a little bit the other day. We had a comedian on the show, and we were talking a lot about the ability of a comedian or a DJ to read the room. You can sort of see the people and see how they're behaving, and then you can say, oh, well, that song's not working, or this song is working. And you can, maybe it's going too fast or too slow, or the right time of the night for whatever. But a lot of that, I mean, it becomes sort of, maybe inborn talent, or it starts to become something that you feel, or you do without thinking. But I think that power of observation is maybe something that can also be taught, just this idea of pay attention to your surroundings. I wonder if you had any thoughts around that, just sort of the power of observation when it comes to creativity.
Yeah, I definitely think the power of observation is very important with creativity. I agree when you say, in terms of reading a room as being a DJ or a comedian. It's funny that you mentioned that because Z Trip mentioned that the same way. He said comedians and DJs are very similar. And so I think that a lot of times we have to slow down. We're going too fast. So if we can slow down and just kind of look around and observe, whether it be a room, whether it be your environment, if you're going for a walk, whether it be, maybe a new building you've walked into, a restaurant that you walked into, and you can just kind of slow down and look around and observe your surroundings, and just kind of take mental notes, and just walk and talk, not really talk, but just look and listen. I think that's a very powerful springboard to really help you unleash your creativity. And I just think that nowadays we're going so fast, we don't slow down enough to look around and to really allow ourselves to kind of relax and observe and just see what's going on around us that we can use or can help inspire us as well. So
I
I do
can't
agree with
tell
you.
you how many times I've walked into a grocery store and heard a song in the just playing in the background. I'm like, "Oh, man, I gotta make an edit of that," or, like, just to use for later kinda thing.
Yeah. So that, and the power of Shazam, that's what we use to kind of curate everything. But so I definitely think that observation is good. And I also think, I always recommend that people, we should read more. If we can read more, whether it be autobiographies or just, kind of personal development books, that helps you with your creativity as well. And just learning from other people is a very valuable technique also.
Yeah, I agree 100%. And speaking of that, you've in 2008, you started an online radio show, and now you host a podcast. Can you talk about how those have helped you in your business?
The radio show I started, Mirth Year, was really designed around love songs and dedication. So people would call into this voicemail number and leave dedications, because my ultimate dream job is to be like, I grew up in the East Coast. We had like Melvin Lindsay or Glenn Hollis. They would host, late night shows where people would call in and make love song dedications. That's like one of my ultimate dreams. So that's where that podcast was born. But it evolved into me interviewing artists that were up and coming. Like I interviewed Melanie Fiona, Raheem Devon, Donnell Jones, and like that's really what kind of sparked that. So I did that for 3.5 years. I think I had 184 episodes. Then when I went to Scratch Academy, I stopped the podcast because I focused on DJing. Now I have my other podcast. It's called the Amani Experience Podcast, where we interview people who used to work in the corporate atmosphere or for someone else and have left to do something more creative. And this podcast, I interview people from, fellow DJs, photographers, poets, other entrepreneurs, health coaches, yoga instructors, just a wide variety of people who have used to work for someone else and have left to do something more creative. And it's like going to a master class with them, just listening to them. There goes the observation kind of point again, and learning from them. What did they do well? What kind of trials and tribulations did they have to go through to get to where they are today? Because a lot of times people think that a lot of these successful people are overnight successes, but there's no such thing as an overnight success. So we talk about that. We talk about books, low moments, high moments. So that's kind of how my podcast career has evolved. And that's where I am today. We just released maybe episode 68, I believe, this week.
I was telling Ryan, he's right up there with we're at like 80. I think this is
Yeah.
show 80, and so you're right behind us. But
Yeah.
just in our experience, just the people that we've met and the connections we've made, even though, yeah, there's been a few DJs that uh, are cool, but just the CEOs, the graphic designers, the people in different fields, I'm always like finding stuff, similar things, and stuff that I can pull from in my own career, and I love it. I think it's, you know, we're not making a killing off this podcast, but the people that we're meeting and the connections we're making are making up for it.
Definitely. I agree 100%, because you would get sponsorships, so we get a little revenue, but it's just the connection we make, the lessons we learn. And for me, the goal of the podcast is I want to be known as more than just a DJ and a music producer. I want to be known as like a thought leader. So I want to be able to share my experience both working in corporate America and then what I'm learning now being a DJ, because I'm learning lessons every day. So I want to be able to share that with people and just, share other people's stories. Maybe some people who aren't as popular as they should be, or people who are kind of up and coming. I love to talk to them, learn their stories, see what lessons they have, feel comfortable sharing with the listeners, and just having a great conversation. It's like an hour masterclass as well.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
I love
awesome.
it.
So to that end, I wanted to ask you quickly about sort of your take on traditional education versus non-traditional education. So obviously, folks like you and me and Mike here, we're sort of non-traditionals, and I don't know. I mean, none of us really sort of did a formal education,
Well,
4-year degree,
he
all
did
that
the
stuff.
Scratch program,
Yeah, but
which
I mean, he didn't go to Harvard Law
yeah,
and move on like mom and dad would have loved or whatever. Like, I mean, when I decided that what I wanted to pursue was art and drawing and things like that, like, it wasn't immediately seen as something I should do. And ultimately, in my profession, your portfolio and the work you actually produce, your real creativity is actually the more valuable part of what you do, not your education. And now here you are teaching a lot of things through, the I guess through the channel of a DJ, or through the mindset of a DJ and a thought leader and somebody like that. But I wondered, what do you think sort of the future of education looks like? Is it, I mean, going to continue to be just sort of, regimented? You just do your 4 years and you go into a career that maybe you don't love and you just kind of tolerate it? Or do you think we're finally at a time where you can kind of pursue whatever dream you want, and how you decide to learn about it's kind of up to you? I mean, you talk about these master classes with podcast guests and things like that. And I totally agree. I mean, I've learned more from some of the people on this show than I would have learned in education, in traditional education.
Right. I think that's a great question. I think it's a combination of both. And why I say that is that I think, I am a professor at Cal State Fullerton, so I do see value with people going and getting their 4-year degrees. I think that if you're able to maybe focus what you want to get your 4-year degree on what you want to do compared to maybe what your parents think you should do, I think that's most effective. And then I think a healthy mixture of getting your degree, whether it be an associate's degree or a bachelor's degree, but then also there's so much value in like these programs that people have where you go to like events and you have like 2 or 3 day kind of, sessions and learning and those kind of educational events. And then taking different classes, like say you go to school and you want to be, your major is in business, but there's also maybe a master class you can take online about filmmaking because you're really interested in filmmaking, or you want to be a chef but you also want to run a business. Well, you have your foundation in terms of your 4-year degree, but then it's okay to take classes at night or on the weekends that really kind of tap into what you really want to do. So I think the best way for me and for people, in my opinion, is a combination of both. I don't think you can just depend on a 4-year degree anymore. I think that, like I did, if you have an interest in something, you need to go and get some education on that specific interest. For me, that was DJing and music production. But we all still need, we're all kind of have, entrepreneurship kind of goals, or we need to know about how to run business, proper ways to maybe do basic accounting, just basic kind of life skills as well, which you can learn some in school. So I think there's value for both, but I do think that now compared to before, if you have a distinct passion and a distinct desire to learn a skill, whether it be DJing, cooking, writing, to find out classes that speak to just that, and might not be in a university, but it could be with a coach or with a professional out there, I think those are very valuable.
yeah, I agree. What subject do you teach in college?
I teach entertainment money management. So what that is just how venues, hotels, restaurants, clubs, casinos make money, how TV shows make money, and how also movies make money. And so that's what I teach in college.
So we actually have an event space that we're kind of launching here. can you go into like how an event space would go and generate some income?
I can. Hold on. Let me see my computer. This bug. Let me just get my charger for my computer. But let me think on that because how an event can make money. Let
Event
me
space, like
event space.
we've got capacity of like 300 people, and we can host different types of seminars and different types of any type of event. Really, it's just a matter of how we want to go and actually what we want to market for. And
Right. So I would say figure out first we could figure out what kind of events do you want to have and host. And then from there, let's talk to the people that book those events. So if you want to do like corporate events or whatever, and you have, the event space for corporate events, I would say to let's reach out to organizations that can be good to partner with, like MPI, Meeting Planners International. Their members both book a lot of corporate events as well. We would have to also maybe start to network in the local community to see kind of who in the local community would host events because word of mouth will be your biggest advertiser at first. So the word of mouth as well. And then we can figure out what's the best way to advertise, whether you kind of do traditional advertising or you go about and do maybe some online advertising, just depending. So definitely set up and figure out what kind of business you want. And then we can nowadays you can like post videos up, take like virtual tours, do that, have open house, bring people there so you can start to spread the word, do
that was
that.
gonna be our thing is we were going to start with an open house and invite all the like the planners and all the people in the local community here in Salt
Yeah.
Lake just to
Yeah.
see the space, and we want to set it up. We were thinking about doing like one of the casino nights and bringing those guys in and just have that interactivity, and then I'll have the uplighting and all the stuff kind of there just so that they know it's an option.
Yeah. Yeah. So I say do that and then also figure out like maybe if there's people in the local community that meet during the day. It could be your chamber, it could be, Rotary, BNI, and then kind of that will attract some business for you during the day so that you can rent out the space during the day at nighttime so you can kind of get double the revenue and then join like, local event focused companies or associations that are in your area that will help you spread the word, sponsor some events as well, host some other events for them also. I think that it'll take a little time, but that'll be the most effective way to kind of start to rent out and sell your space as well.
Nice. Is there any software you would recommend for managing the finances for it? Other than, is there like specific for other than QuickBooks?
That's a good question for the venue software. QuickBooks is a good start. Let me think on that one. That's a good question. I'll think on that one.
Okay.
Yeah. Let me grab my charger real quick. Hold on, hold on.
So, how's your day going, Ryan?
Going all right, man. Going all right.
Yeah.
So I noticed you're getting all the camera time.
Well, take it off me.
All right, I had a gig last night and I left my charger in the car, so my computer was running a little late, but here I am. So good. Yeah, so I'll get back to you on the software
I'm
for
sure there's
managing.
one that's out there that's good. I just haven't done any research on it yet.
Yeah. Yeah.
So how long have you been teaching at college?
So this is my first semester. So we started in August of this year. It's been amazing. It's just been an amazing experience. I love it. I will say though that the work to prepare each week is it's a lot. It's like, it's a lot of work to prepare your lessons each week because I really want the lessons to be engaging. Each class is about 2 hours and 45 minutes long. So that's a pretty long class and it's back to back. So I really have to focus on getting the students to kind of move around the class, do group activities, but keep them engaged. And it's tough. Like, they have their computers and everything. So they're, online, which is fine. And just trying to find different activities that they can do to keep them engaged for the whole class. And so I think we've done a pretty good job. They're learning because we just finished our second exam. I have a good amount of guest speakers that come in that are really exciting and different. So that kind of keeps them on their toes. I'm looking forward to, we're going to have Z-Trip and his agent come in like one of the last weeks of class. So that's exciting. We have an executive from Lionsgate coming in, a film director coming in. So we had a lot of great guests. So that really is cool too, because the kids get to see all the different careers that are out there, and then to hear people's stories. And so it just kind of further confirms what I've shared to them in class. And so it's fun, exciting. I think the kids are enjoying it. Sometimes they get upset because, maybe their grade's not as high as they wanted to be, but it's been a great experience. It's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's very cool. Well, and I mean, no better place to be than LA for that kind of thing. I mean,
Definitely. Yeah. Yeah, the kids I think they wanted to meet Shonda Rhimes, who's like the really famous like executive producer and creator. And so, although I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get her this year, that's on the list to try to get her to come in to talk to the students as well. So if you just ask, you never know who will come in and say yes.
We found the same thing with just the show and people we've worked with in the past. You never know until you ask. I actually, at one point, I've reached out to Mixmaster Mike. I reached out to Jazzy Jeff, and just because you never know, a Twitter comment or something could turn into an interview. And so if you don't ask, you're never gonna find out. And maybe you just spark the thing and you get them later. So.
Exactly. Yeah. Now, if you get Jazzy Jeff, he's on my list as well too.
Okay,
so
I'll put. Hey, Z-Trip's on our list, so let's.
Hey, okay, let's part it. I'll make the intro.
Yeah, I was gonna say neither of those fools responded to us.
I was lucky that I worked at camp with Z-Trip for 2 years, and I was able to get him at camp. We did the interview. I think it's 57. We did that interview while we were at camp. We took like 45 minutes. We were up in this private area. It was hot outside, like 100 degrees. We did the interview. It turned out amazing. One of the best interviews I've done.
Well, so I was one of those guys that just has such knowledge. You can take so much from him.
It was great. And the funniest part about it is he gave such great advice, and he got personal too. And I said, okay, so we're ending the show. Do you have any last minute words of wisdom or advice for the audience? And he says, this is what I'll tell people. He says, go to the bathroom when you can, not when you have to.
That's words to live by. Right there.
That was great because he's right. Especially you better go to the bathroom when you can. So
when you're in a booth, like the bathroom the furthest thing away, and you got to wade through a crowd of people. It's the last thing you want to deal with.
Yeah, it was awesome though. So yeah, just ask. I agree with you.
That's cool. Well, I think we're cutting up there on time. Is there any last words you want to have?
We've covered a lot. This has been awesome. So first, thank you for having me on the show. It's a great time. I think just last words of wisdom is for people. If you have an idea or a passion, or you want to pursue something creative, just kind of take some of the steps that we talked about today and go for it. And you don't have to do it all at once, and you don't have to do it alone. So if you find a group of people that can support you and will push you and be honest with you. And I just think that, we're only here for a short period of time. So if you have an idea or you want to go do something and you want to be creative, to do it, because we all need to have and experience the gifts that you have inside of you. So I just push people to just go for it and try it out. You never know unless you try.
Yeah. And once again, it's Amani Roberts, and you can find him at amaniexperience.com. All your social links are up there. And thank you for making the time. We really appreciate it. I enjoyed talking with you.
So. Definitely. Thank you for having me. It's been a pleasure.
Yeah, of course. Super grateful. And we'll give Joseph the old backslap and let him
tell him Blair Blazers class of 92. We had fun. So definitely. Yeah.
That's great.
Cool. Well, hey, man, thanks again so much. We really appreciate your time, and take care. Everybody who joined us on the YouTube stream, thanks so much. And we'll catch you all later. See you next time.
All right. Take care.